Hello all, welcome to the channel. Today I bring you an overview of Arkwright, the card game. If you have to run for, I'll be bringing you guys that video next week. So we've got the designer at the bottom left here. It's brought to us by these guys in the middle, and we got the artist there as well. So this is a 1 to 4 player game. It's heavyweight, this one, folks, heavy complexity, and it'll take you in the region of sort of 100 minutes, maybe 120, you know, slightly upwards on that one. So on this game then, we are entrepreneurs. We are running our factories. You can see a factory here, the food one. We've got this lamp factory, and you are aiming to produce goods, sell them, make the most profit, deduct those costs. Maybe you'll send those goods across through using these ships, and this is your player board here. Every time you use a ship here, you can send goods abroad, get a certain price, but the more you do that, the more you're going to get a reduction in the price of your shares at the end of the game. Maybe you want to take loans and you want to get some money into your business to do better things, or buy more shares maybe, but equally at the end of the game, the more loans you do, the more shares are going to be deducted from your final tally, and that's the whole aim of the game. You are focused on your company alone, and you're trying to get the best value. So the more shares you own, let's say you got 20 at the end of the game, you're going to multiply that by whatever the price is, having deducted the loans and the amount of sailing you've done, and whoever has the most valuable company will be the winner of this game. So what have we got then? You're going to start with 2 companies, and these are the actual companies themselves here, and you can see what's this telling you then. So it's in era 1, and there's 3 eras to this game, from the 1770s up to the 1790s, and you can see you get a chance to upgrade these. Maybe you can see the cost of, well, not the cost, the price you're going to get if you send those goods abroad, the cost of running this factory. This is really handy. You can move this little marker here to determine the appeal, and obviously the more appealing it is, the less price you're going to get, because people are more attracted to your product because it is cheaper. Or if you increase the price of the product, it's less appealing. You can see 2 workers and 1 machine that can produce 1 lamp, and as you add extra workers to the left here, you can see these symbols. That's your little factory, and you can see next to it here, this is where you plonk this card. You got 3 workers producing 1 lamp. If you get a chance to automate it, you can see it reminds you, you get to rotate it. Now you've got 2 workers and 1 machine. If you decide to upgrade it on, you know, a different decade, you can see in decade 2 you can flip it over, and you've now producing 2 goods. So a host of rotating and flipping. I really like how streamlined that is. On the right then, you got your office. You can see it tells you where it goes. You can rotate this for either 4 revenue or 4 appeals, so you can affect how appealing your product is. If you do get distribution throughout the game, this kind of marketing, it gives you additional appeal. And you can see you got quality, the quality of your product, and this allows you to rotate it. You can either go for appeal, or you can go for an increased price of your product. So that's how these cards in your reserve are going to sort of fit under your factories and sort of manipulate the price and how expensive and cheap things are for you. So how is an actual round going to flow out then? So let's say we're on decade 1. You're going to start with the food here on the left, and this is the industry that's going to trigger. Now you've got a really handy reference guide here. So we're on decade 1, should we say, and we're starting off with food. So the first player then is going to work their way and choose 1 action from 1 to 5. If you want to use the expert variant, you've got 6 and 7. So what can they do? They could either, number 1, build a factory. So you could build, you know, the other 2 factories that you haven't actually started out with, but you're probably not going to want to do that because you've got additional costs and you can't participate in everything. But if the time is right, you could get an extra factory. Now, if you do, the board reminds you here that every time you get an extra factory or worker, you're going to increase. It's weird, it's actually going down like a decrease, but you're going to increase because the gap between the demand marker and where you are is the demand. So at the moment, the demand for blue, you know, is 3 and 0. So the demand is 2 there. So we can see, was that right? No, 3. 3 minus 0. So blue players are at an appeal of 3, and the demand marker is at 0. So 3 minus 0, there's 3 products being demanded from their company. And that's important because if you add more workers, that's going to go down and more demand, and the same with making more factories. So that's the first action you may decide to choose, or you can upgrade. So you could flip one of those factories from an era 1 to an era 2, and it kind of reminds you on the side here actually. Second thing you can do is add workers, and again that'll impact this with the little asterisks. Third thing you could do, you could automate, so that's rotating those cars I showed you. Fourth thing you could do, you could get some quality. So in your reserve then, you've got a host of cars, you've got extra factories you can bring out, you've got extra warehouses which let you store goods, and then if you haven't quite met demand that time in terms of the amount of goods your factory can produce, and you've got some of these stored there, you can sell those. You've got some distribution cards that can come into play, free, you rotate it, you got 1, 2, you got more quality, you've got different offices for, you know, different industries. So clothing, when you play it, you'd put this next to your factory. You've got more workers, you've got up to 2 for each type of industry. So you got, you know, cutlery here 2, and again they rotate, so you got, this is only applicable in era 3. So, you know, a host of things you can bring out there from your reserve. And the last one you can do is stock exchange. So you buy shares. So whatever your current price is, let's say they're at 17, boom, you buy a share. All your money is tracked on the market here at the top, so you just move your money around. Now, if you do develop, interestingly, this one here, you can see when you use stock exchange, you can buy maximum 1 share at half price, and if you get to there, max 2 shares at half price. Now, these developments, they will come into place. You're literally going to pick one of these actions. Let's just say we go for an additional worker, we get that worker, let's say we are in the cutlery game. So we take this worker, you choose the right era, so it's on level 1, and you literally plonk that under there, and you can see now it's going to produce 5 cutlery, but also we've got 4 workers, 5 workers on that, and we've got 4 machines. So very expensive, because you're going to have to pay these costs at the bottom. So if every worker is free, and as more factories and workers come on, this is going to go blah, 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 blah. It might be cost 4 per worker, etc., and it costs you 1 maintenance for each factory. So maybe we chose 1 action there, number 2, so we chose to put a worker out. We've increased the demand, and we've moved that labour cost. We then go on to B here. Now, if this was the market we were participating in, which is the food, we would adjust our appeal. So let's go to these guys then. These are doing the bread. So what that means then, you can adjust this marker here. So let's say we want our product to be free, an appeal of 3. Now you're going to look at the breading market, and at the moment the demand is on 0, and let's just say we can produce 3 bread, so we want our marker blue to be on 3. So you can see this section here is 0, we've got 1, 2, 3, so our blue marker is on 3. That's great. And this moves, it fluctuates, it doesn't stay at 3 and then you get another 3 and it goes to 6. That represents currently where your factory is. So going back to our factory, we can see we've set this at a price of 4, and if we leave the mark here, just above it is 1, so we're getting 4 plus the 1, our price is 5, and the appeal is 3. Now, if you did rotate this office card, so you decided, you know what, I want more appeal, you can literally rotate it as part of this action. So there we go, rotate it, and now we have got, if I can slot that under, so we've got an appeal of 4 plus 3 is an appeal of 7, but we don't want that much appeal because we can only produce 3 goods, 1, 2, 3. So we're happy with how it was, so we're going to leave that blue marker there. Now, if you did say have an appeal of 7, which is ludicrous for this game, you can see you go 4, 5, 6, 7, and every time you pass one of these symbols, you can see you've passed it, so it's going up red, which means this is going to go 1, 2, 3 up as well. So this might get into the 1 zone, the 2 zone, and that means the difference, 7 minus the 2, means the demand is 5 for your product. But that's worse for your opponents. Let's say Orange are in the bread game as well, and you've shot up there, you know, 3 minus the 2, there's only demand for 1 of their goods, so you can impact your opponents that way. So you've affected your appeal. What you're going to do next, you're then going to get a chance to develop. So the cog represents your board, these little cogs, and the other symbol here is a card. So there is actually development cards on the side of the board. There's a host of goodies there. You can only ever have a max of 1 type, so you can see you get a reduction on each worker of the factory. You plonk that on, you could do an extra sale of a good. So yeah, some nice things there to choose from. So let's say for this one, we're going to look at our development board, and we are going to move this one at 1, no cost, so we can now take up to a maximum 3 distribution on our go if we're chosen that action. Where is it? Here. Okay, so just to summarize then, we've chosen one of these actions, we've adjusted our price if the market we're involved in, we've then done a development, it then goes to the next player, even if they're not participating in the food market. So the next player would choose one of these actions, they would adjust their price if they're involved in the market and do a development. Everyone who's involved in that particular market, food in this case, will flip the card and you'll all participate in the production phase number 2. So the first thing you will do is multiply the number of goods you can sell. So these guys can sell free bread at a price of 1. Well, this one was flipped, wasn't it? So it'd be a price of, let's do that so you don't get confused. So you can see it would have been a price of 5. So 4 plus the 1. And the peels also do the bottom. So we're getting 5 for each of those bread. 15 we're getting, but we're going to have to pay our costs. Now, this line here, B, is all about, let's say you produce 4 goods and the market is only after 3. You could store the extra good on your warehouse, or you could send it abroad and sail it away, and you get that price just above there. So it'd be a price of 8. So you could sell those goods abroad. But remember, each time you use a sale action, you put it in here and it decreases the price at the end of the game. So maybe you want to really consider that. But if you haven't done that, or you have, you go to C here, and this is where you determine your prices. So if that focuses, you can see you're going to look at the cost of your factory. So in this case, it's 8. You're going to add on the cost of each worker. So we're looking at the bottom of the board here, and that was on 3, wasn't it? So each worker is going to cost you 3, and then you're doing the maintenance fee of each one of those machines. So the bread factory here, it's hard to line up everyone. You got a cost of 8, you got 4 workers, which was 4 times the 3 is 12. So 12 plus the 8, we've got no machines to maintain. So we're paying 20, folks, but we only gained 15 revenue, so at a loss of 5. So you really have to work efficiently and maximise that factory to gain revenue, because you want revenue, because then you can buy shares. Now, if you had sold 2 or more goods to that market, you're going to get a bump of 1 on your price. Boom, we would have gone to 18. If you were the most appeal in that market, so we're looking at bread then, and you can see blues are, well, let's say they were on 5. They would have been the most appealing in the market. They get a bump up of price of 1 as well. If it's ever a tie, you're not getting that increase. So you really have to think hard about how appealing you want your product to be against your competitors. Okay, where are we? So we've done that. We then get to reduce our distribution. So if we did have one of those distribution cards there, which we haven't, you don't impact other industries. It's just the ones that are here. You would reduce that by 1 each time. Everyone's done that simultaneously. You then move the marker, so we then have finished the food industry. We go to clothing, we pass the start player to the next player, and we do exactly the same for the clothes industry. The starting player will pick one of these actions. They will adjust their prices as an appeal. They will then do develop. Next player goes. Then everyone who's participating in the clothing industry will do this section 2, as we've just demonstrated. You keep going throughout the cutlery and then the lamps. Once you get to here, you go all the way back. Whoever has the least value company, so you multiply your shares times your money, will then determine who the starting player is. You will then upgrade to era 2, so you got the opportunity to now do upgrading here from 1 to 2s. And you can do a host more goodies. And once you get to level 3 and you've gone through all these, end the game, you get to sell any goods you got on them warehouses at a cost in the rules, if that focuses. And you'll then spend any excess money you have on the top track here to buy as many shares as you can, and then whoever has the highest value, well actually before that you're going to deduct the shares down. So let's say you had 1 loan, that's going down 1, and if this was the case you're going to reduce your price down 1. You'd multiply these 2 figures together. Whoever has the highest value is the winner, folks. Wow, there's a lot going on here, folks, but it's a fantastic implementation in the card version of Arkwright. It is different in respect, you know, the actual market itself. You're not competing against other players like you get 1 good, I get 1 good, but it's so streamlined how you can use, you know, these cards and rotate them, flip them. There's a maximum of 2 workers for each industry, so you can't go all out on them, but you've got to think about other industries and how competitive your opponents are and how they're making their profits, and you can influence them. I like how streamlined these ships are. You know, it goes from 2 to 1, and you get a chance to, you can see on, where is it? On here, you get to put your ships back as well. So you can see there, any ships you've used, exhausted, you flip them back. I love how streamlined the warehouses are. So, yeah, really, really enjoy this game, folks. Check out the run through. I'll go in a lot more detail as to how this one plays. There we are. Enjoy.